G'day Raiders family, Bourkeys here and welcome to my post-match Manly review. Couple of days since the game, disappointing, bitter, twisted, frustrated, and that was just the 5 minutes after the game. And it's mellowed and wallowed and festered since then. So good thing about rugby league though is always next week, and the Sharks are looming around the corner. So we just got to refocus. Revitalise and just replan our structures and our game management in that game in a couple of days, which was certainly lacking in the Manly game. Look, let's get into the top 10. My first one this week is called It's Simple, and we need to just be very simple and very structured in our game plan. We are still a learning and developing side in some areas compared to the sides over the last couple of years, particularly Storm, Roosters and Souths, who have been there for a long period of time. Our game plan needs to be very simple. It needs to be very uncluttered and very uncomplicated. On the weekend, we made it all those things and more. We made it cluttered, we made it complicated, and we made it confusing. Looking at home, I could see where we should have gone, which we didn't, which was purely more down the middle third of the ruck, particularly behind the Manly markers for the first couple of tackles. We hit the edges first, second tackle way too soon, which we should not have done. But look, once again, it's only 2 points we lost. It wasn't a qualifying final, it wasn't a knockout final, and heaven forbid it wasn't a grand final, where it's then too hard or possibly too hard to make amends. So I think this week Ricky would have really kept it very vanilla and very basic around what our main strengths are, and those are things we have to play to. Like rugby league is a simple men played by simple. It's a simple game played by simple men, and that's what we've got to make sure that we remember. And most certainly, we're still there. As I said in a post yesterday, we started the weekend at third, and we're still third. So we haven't really lost anything other than we've got some other sides really breathing down our neck. All we have to do now is keep winning. That's the simple part. We just have to keep winning. Number 2, I've gone for discipline. Now, it was all there for people to see on the weekend, certain levels of discipline which dropped off. I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm sure that BJ understood now what he did. He put the eye before team. And in those circumstances, those types of ill-disciplines moments either come from attitude or fatigue. So, or maybe a combination of both. I think in BJ's case, it was fatigue. Like, you can't fault his effort. He ran, I think, 80, 90 metres to chase down that play. He was just clumsy and sloppy at the end. I think that was more fatigue than a bad attitude. I think leading up to round 8, he was without a doubt the form centre in the competition until he had his neck injury. So I think at the end it just came down to fatigue. It was just sloppy, and he's now failed. He's now basically cost himself 2 weeks. It's also affected the team momentum for the next 2 weeks, where we've got to bring Bailey in and bring Nick in. Thankfully, that combination or those changes have been tested through the years. It would have been a hell of a lot worse had it, once again, it been a qualifying final or a knockout final where that combination had been untested. We've had some backfilling done now where those guys are used to those positions. I think BJ will take a really long think about this. I want to add a subplot here. I think some of the comments coming out of the Canberra Raiders forums on the weekend are a bit ill-advised. I don't think Ricky's going to drop BJ. I don't think he won't play till 2020. I think Ricky wants him in the side. I think the players want him in the side. I know I want him in the side in the semis. And I really think deep down, peeps, and you guys out in the forums and in forum land, and you know who you are, for those who may have been a little bit under the collar, I think deep down you really want him in the side as well. He certainly brings that X factor to our defence and our attack. Look, it was one moment of madness, maybe two if you look at the Dylan Walker tackle as well, where he didn't need to tackle him. But there are certainly areas there where, once again, I think it was more fatigue than attitude that has cost him, and lack of game management. But I think deep down, guys, we need him in the run-in now. We just can't compromise sitting him out for the next or for the rest of the year to teach a lesson or to make sure his injury is 100%. His injury is 100%. Make no mistake about it. There's nothing now wrong with his neck. He's been given the all clear by a number of doctors independent, not just Canberra. So we need to now move on from that injury, cut him a bit of slack, knowing what he's done for us in the past, and let's make sure we can bring that to the table the first weekend of the finals. Number 3, I've gone for errors. So while discipline cruelled us on the weekend, errors have well compounded our situation on the weekend. A few sloppy things coming out of our own half, drop balls, third man in trying to get the steal, which is fine. But we just got to make sure it doesn't lead to a penalty that would count as an error, and it did on the weekend with a couple of times. Those sorts of things are a work in progress. I'm sure Ricky pointed out our error situation quite succinctly in the match review to our guys. Just certain players, certain positions on the field we got to. We never made a mistake getting there, but we should not have been in those areas, and they could be construed as errors where players have missed their run or their timing to get there. And that comes back to my first point. It's a simple game plan. So we just got to make sure we really watch those errors moving forward, particularly obviously the next couple of weeks, which we just can't afford to have them in the spaces or in the areas of the field we had them on the weekend. We just invite sides in to have a real crack at us. Number 4, I've gone for Corey Horsburgh. I really spoke up about him against the Storm. I thought his game on the weekend once again was fantastic. He's just now able to give us an offload. He's a big rangy thing. The first few games he wasn't really, he was head down, bum up, trying to just to feel his way in A grade, which is understandable. Now he looks confident on the field. He's coming on, he's taking in some sets of 6-2 rucks and getting an offload away. I just can't stress enough how much of an X factor from the bench those types of plays are for us, because they're really critical for our momentum. And they're really critical from our bench players giving us impact, those extra 1%ers. I think Corey was enormous on the weekend coming in for Papa. I really liked his game. He was savage. He was aggressive with the likes of Tapau and Fanua Blake and Trebojevic and those guys. And that's what we're going to need. That X factor from the bench is really, really, and I won't be able to drill it down seriously enough, how important his play and the other bench players are going to be, whoever they may be, coming in over the next 2 to 4 weeks. I thought Jack's game, he's my number 5 in my top 10 this week, was once again fantastic. I just felt a couple of times Jack could have taken the line on even more than what he did. The first half try that was disallowed, which was definitely a try in my opinion. I think the second half he could have squared up the play a bit more, trying to go back into that ruck. Instead of throwing left out to Jared or to Nick, I felt he could have squared up the play quite a lot better with his beautiful left foot step back in behind that ruck. I think that would have given Hodger a bit more time out of dummy half, and we could have had Aiden Caesar coming right side into left side sweeping and still playing the plays with Elliott and Jared, but having those edge defenders moving across and giving us more space out wide. Manly drifted well to cover off Jack and Elliott and Jared with the impact they have. I just like to see Jack, if those edge defenders are coming up quickly, is to go back in towards the markers and make them hold their ground and drift, and get Aiden coming, sweeping around, or Hodjo taking the ball to that left edge if Jack is in the play the ball. Number 6, the Manly way. Now, Manly played a style of football on Sunday, which was the way they're going to play their semi-finals. Their match play or their game plan was they're all to see on Sunday. They want to be crappy in the ruck. They want to be all over you, legs and arms and hands and necks and feet, trying to slow up the play of the ball. The final push down. The refs, they're really testing the refs' patience. And if they can get away with it for the first 10 to 15 minutes, they're going to do it. They're happy to give away 5 or 6 penalties in a row, which they did on the weekend. The rest did nothing about it. No warnings, no sin bin, no nothing. So Manly are happy to go to the edge before they change their game plan. They're really going to test the refs. So we have to really adapt to that if we do play them in the finals. And that's no certainty either. We're really going to have to be mindful of what they're trying to do. They're just trying to be dirty in a way of around the ruck, just slowing up our momentum. So even if it's a case sometimes now and then of a voluntary tackle just to get up quickly and play the ball, the big thing that will stifle Manly is offloads. They do not like offloads, as a lot of teams don't. So if we can get those offloads happening against the sides of Manly, who like to keep it tight around the ruck, we're really going to test them quite well. Number 7, I've gone for Sia / Danamis Louis. I'm not convinced that that rotation's working. I think Dynamis Louis coming off the bench has not been as effective for our go forward as Dynamis Louis starting and bringing Sia on or Papa on. I just felt he looked a little bit lost coming in on the bench on the weekend for whatever reason. He seemed to take a little bit of time to get into the flow of the game. I felt it was a little bit slow initially to get into the speed of the game by coming on after 20 minutes. I think my preference looking at him coming off the bench the last 2 weeks against the Storm and now Manly, I think he's better suited starting. I think he can pick up the flow of the game a lot better, then bring Sia or Papa on after that 20 minutes, who seem to be able to maintain that momentum or the speed of the game once they come on. I may be totally wrong. I just, looking at the last couple of weeks, feel that he may be better to start instead of benching. The double chance at number 8. It's really critical, guys, that we get both wins the next couple of weeks. I'll cover it more in the Cronulla game. Once again, we're still third. We've got a really healthy for and against. I think we're plus 80 over Manly, maybe plus 60 over South Sydney. So things would need to be a train wreck for us to be overtaking on a for and against. We just have to win those next 2. Double chance is enormous. We don't need to tell you guys out there who are very well educated, or the players or the coaching staff, how critical that double chance is in the finals. Number 9, I've gone for Aiden. It was an up and down game for him. Early on, he got pickpocketed by Dylan Walker quite easily, coming in off his line quickly, and he didn't adapt to that. From that moment, you notice we went a lot more to the left side attack without really hitting Bateman or BJ or Jordan. I don't think we hit them in a clean play the whole game. We seemed to be a little bit stifled once Aiden was getting smashed with those guys coming off the line of going that way to the right. Now, this is things we have to work on. If Aiden's getting smashed, then we need to have Sharmsick or Clockstack behind him. We need to give Aiden some options. If he's getting an edge defender hitting him early, we need to look at ways around it. Think back to the John Bateman try a couple of weeks ago against the Storm when Hodjo hit Bateman with a very long ball. Give him some early ball. He cut out Aiden, which gave us the overlap with BJ running straight back behind the nickel Clockstack into Jordan in the corner. They're the sort of things we've got to adapt quickly on the run. So it may mean if Aiden's getting sniped with a quick moving defender coming up, then Hodjo needs to look wider to John Bateman or out the back to Shans. So we just need to be adaptable around those certain areas and make sure that we do have a plan B or a plan C on our right edge attack if we're getting pickpocketed, if we're getting hammered pretty quickly. And finally, guys, number 10, we just can't afford to panic. We haven't suddenly stopped understanding how to tackle, how to play, how to attack, how to kick, and so on and so forth. We do those things beautifully. We've done them all year. Hiccup on the weekend, yes. We only lost by 4 points. It could have gone either way. The 8-point try, there were ups and downs in all that game, but we were still right into the 80th minute where we could have scored a try at the end. So we just can't afford to panic. Just plan our work and work our plan. Plan our work and work our plan, and we're going to be sweet and cool over the next couple of weeks. Sharks into Warriors, fingers crossed into a qualifying final against the Roosters at the SCG. So Raiders fam, that's it for my top 10 this week. As always, I appreciate your love of my Bourkeys Top 10 Facebook page. I really appreciate your love of my YouTube channel, Bourkeys Top 10. I love your questions through Twitter. All your podcasts are up and running, so hit me up on that and enjoy the listening on your way to work, at the gym, or wherever. And any questions, guys, as I said, I'm only a message away or a text away or a tweet away. So guys, as always, this is Bourkey. Bleed green. I'll see you on Saturday for my preview of the Sharks game. This is Bourkey out.